And now we are going to see about structures. Structures in C is a very important concept in data structures. To become a good data structure, to learn good in data structures, structures are very important so that the data are completely binded inside the structures and it has been manipulated via the links. It's called as linked list. So the base for data structure is structures. So let us cleanly understand what structure is. Structure is also called as structs because the keyword what we are going to provide it for a structure is called a struct. So struct is a keyword which is going to govern or run or going to execute or going to define or going to declare or going to say to the machine language that it's going to be a structure. And structure is nothing but it's a group of several related variable into a single place. Usually in C programming, we used to define a variable inside the main function, outside the main function called as global declaration, but we will not put all together in a set of statements. For example, you can declare int a, comma b, comma c. All the variables are in the form of integer. And you can provide int a equal to 1, comma b equal to 1, comma c equal to 1. Again, everything forms into a single structure called as integer. If possible, if you go ahead with global declaration using define, hash define a 100. So it is a variable which contains the value 500, but it doesn't define what the value is or what the data type is. But data type is very important in C programming and good for data structures. So here each variable in the structure is known as the member of the structure, right? And now we see about arrays. What an array is? Array is nothing but a set of element which contains unique name. Let it be int a of 50. So you can put int 50 integer values inside a particular variable which has been carried out with a form of indexing. But array, here we type here. Let's suppose we have a variable called int a of 10. So what we can do is we can just put 10 values inside this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8, 9. Let it be 0 or 9 or 0. So you can put 10 values inside and single array element all together or in the form of integer. But structures is not like an integer, not like an array, right? You can put any kind of data types into this set of structures, right? The structure carries out all or any kind of data types that can be compatible with a individual structure, right? So structure in a C is a user defined data type that groups related variables of different data types into a single unit. Right. Now let us go ahead to check the syntax of a structure. So struct is the keyword which is provided. Struct is a keyword which is provided and it describes that the given statements are a structure. And this is the name of the structure. Once the struct is being given, the next keyword is nothing but the name of the structure has to be provided. And the name of the structure should be started in alphabets, not in numerical values. And whatever data, whatever variables you have, you can provide it. Let it be an integer, let it be a character, let it be a float. You can define any kind of variables inside this. Let me go ahead with a small example how to create a structure. Struct. Let me take this as a node as the structure name. I can put int a, float b, cap c, double f. So I can bring anything, but the structure has to be closed. The structure should be closed with semicolon. And very, very important is that. And this is the difference between an array element and the structure element. So the structure constitutes of any type of data types and any number of variables can be given inside. Even you can convert this into an array element too. You can convert this into an array element, no issues. You can convert this into a form of string by converting a character into a set of strings. Same double. So such a way, whatever you want, you can do it in structures based on the variable, data types, and other values. Okay, now let me go to an main function. So hash includes studio dot h. So let me put void main. So I'm not going to return my function. Right. Let me start with a normal variable int a equal to 8. If suppose if I want to print it, so printf %d comma ampersand a. When I execute this, fine. Now can you identify what's the problem, what the mistake I did? So I have given address of. That's the reason why I have given you is in data structures, we always deal with address. And now you get the value called as a equal to 8 or 8 because I've given only a. If I provide a equal to %d, that returns me a equal to 8. So such a way it is depending on the program. Right now, I'm going to create a structure where structure can be created outside the main function. And two curly braces, and for my definition, I will close the structure before I start. Let me give you int b float c. Let me take this two as an example. Now, how can I access? How can I provide some values to b? How can I provide values to c? So it is mean that I have to create an object. So where can I create an object? There are two ways you can create an object. One, either you can create it here as an object. So structure name, data type with variables, and the object. Right? Okay. Now, I'm just going to provide the, and C programming is case sensitive. So please be alert when you're typing some values. Yeah, let me copy this. And let me give you /n for new line because it's obviously we cannot consider that if it is coming in the same line. So the value of b is %d, but the data is being obtained or the value is being obtained based on the identifiers. For float, c is a float variable, so I have to put f obj.c, and the value of c is fine. Can I execute it? Fine. Now the value of a is 2, which has been given inside the main function, but the value of b and c are defined with respect to its object. B is 2 and c is 1.0, and then value is being printed here. This is a way you can create an object and you can just pull the values from the structures. Right. The next way, how can you create an object in other way? Yes, you can just put str struct node and object. Let me take this as new object. So now let's come here. We are going to find or learn a new syntax. So to create an object, so it should be structure name and object for that particular structure. So for a program, it doesn't mean that we wanted to have only one structure. We can have a number of structures. I now have created a structure called as new object, new NOBJ. Right. Let me take the same data here, my reference. So instead of obj, I'm just going to modify new obj. And I'm just going to modify the values. Let me put 5, 5.0. And this is new B and new C. Fine. Now, there is a doubt. Now we have a variable called a equal to 8. The value of a doesn't change anywhere else. But what happened to b and c? B contains 2 here and b contains 5 here. But the same, if I put a equal to, if I put a equal to 7 here, a equal to 7, what happens? What happens if I put like this? The value is updated. The previous one I have the value called 8, but now I have modified the value a equal to 7, and when I print it, what happens here? The value of a gets updated rather than the b object and C object, it doesn't vary because object is an instance of that particular structure. So it creates an additional memory. Object creates an additional memory for that particular structure. Now, how the memory managements are carried out in a structure? When we say size of an integer, right? Okay, let me show you how to print the size of an integer. Right. The size of an integer is 4. Right. Then what about the size of my object? Is it possible for us to describe what is the size of the object? Size of obj. Is it possible? Let's try. Yeah. The size of object is 8. How can you define the object of the size is 8? Rather than I can tell in keywords that if I have a variable called integer carries out with the size 4 bytes. But we doesn't know how about the object size, right? But according to C programming, the structure contains the memory management compatibility depending upon the number of variables, number of data types, number of elements which are provided inside the structures. This cumulates the size of all the variables with respect to its data types sizes. It accumulates all the sizes, and that is the size of the object or the structure. Even if I put this size of this size of new object, again that represents 8 because my structure size is 8. Well, let me tell you, let me show you what is the size of an um, size of float. So that you'll just come to know. As of now, let me remove this. Let me put float v equal to 1.2 and v. So size of float. Right, see the size of integer is 4 and the size of float is 4. So we have used one integer and one float which carries 4 plus 4 8. So this is the maximum size of my structure. Whenever I create any kind of object, so the object is going to be an instance of that particular object and it is going to carry the entire memory management of the structure. Fine. Okay. Fine. Now we are going to declare the structure variables. Already we have started this declaring structure variables. Now, let me give you two different types of structure variables. One is using normal object. The other is pointer object. Star obj1. I'm not going to execute this because during memory management and dynamic memory allocation, I'll show you what is the importance between this. Because when I say normal dynamic memory allocation in this without using dynamic memory allocation, it is not obviously true to do it, right? Okay. Fine. Oh, what is the difference between this and this? Let me cut off the main. So what is the difference between this and this object? And this is a normal object and this is a pointer object. So let me say normal object. What is normal object? So obj If I wanted to access, if I wanted to access A and B using OBJ, so it's going to be a normal object. As I forgot to tell you, there are two operate. We have to access via dot operator, right? If it is a normal object, please remember that you are supposed to use dot operator, fine? And dot is nothing but we are supposed to use object name dot variable name a equal to 2, right? And obj dot b is equal to 1.4 or something, a decimal value, right? So the use of dot operator is nothing but whenever the object has been very simple or normal, you can use dot operator. Okay, then what is the difference between star object? When it is star, when it is in pointer object, obj1, we are supposed to use arrow. So this is called as arrow operator, right? Obj arrow a equal to 2. Obj1, obj1 arrow b is equal to 1.3 something, right? So this is the main difference here. When we use two different objects. One is normal object, the other is pointer object. Let me put a pointer object title here, right? It's a pointer object. Fine. When it is in pointer object, what happens? So we have to use arrow operator. So we know it's going to be in pointer object, you have to use arrow operator. And when it's a normal object, you have to use dot operator. Okay. Can I show you how to add two numbers? Let us have a small example with normal object rather than the pointer object. So I have created a node, right? So let me get two values, int b. Let me take two values, and let me show you how to get the values from the um, structure, and that can be stored inside a normal variable from a main function. Let me go void main int p is equal to 0, initializing printf. And let me put 22 values, obviously, right? So you have to use ampersand. Ampersand refers to address of that stores in the address of variable, right? So ampersand, the object name is obj.a, right? Without this object, you cannot access the variable a, comma, ampersand obj.b. Fine. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to put c equal to obj.a plus obj.b, and look after this. Now I have fetched the values from the structure, but I'm just assigning the value to the normal variable which is present inside the main function. The value c is assigned or defined inside the main function. Now I'm just going to print the output percentage d comma c, right? Because c is present inside the main function, it is no way related to any structures. And let me execute it. So I have to provide two values, 2, 3. Oh, fine. I don't know what the mistake I have done. 2, 3, 5. So you enter two values, percentage d ampersand dot d, obj dot b, obj dot a plus obj dot b, and that was returned c. Fine. Now it's not getting my value as input. Let me go ahead with the other compilers, how far it has been working. So